hustler, baby. I'm a hustler,
Yeah.
baby.
I know heartbreaks, setbacks. Bitch, if I crap out, I'm sure I'ma get back. I've been through the ups and downs, you know I get around. So to me,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I am your host, June Archer. You are now locked in to the winner's circle. My guest today, this young man is, I can't say enough, but it is also a pleasure and an honor. Please welcome Berto Colon, a.k.a. Lorenzo Tejada, the man, the myth, and now the legend.
Please, thank
Berto.
you. Thank you, June. Thank you. Good seeing you again.
It is, as I said, a pleasure.
Thank you, man. Likewise, sentiment is mutual, man. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Craziness.
I mean that sincerely. With all of the success,
Thank you.
I would like to start by saying you have given us what we will call one of the latest urban legends in television.
Wow. Thank you.
Power Book 2 Ghost. If you haven't seen it, get from under a rock.
Yeah.
Fix your life.
Yeah, where you been? What you been up to?
This season, episode 1, the highest rated.
Highest rated for stars ever. Insane. I said it earlier today that this show, from the beginning, was kind of setting records already, but nothing like beating your own stuff
Yes.
every time. Nothing like getting better every time. That's like the key, right? And what can we say?
And we have seen you on multiple things. Orange is the New Black, of course, with the series with Ava DuVernay.
Of course, when they see us.
Amazing
Central
work.
Park 5, man.
But with this series, we've been able to get to see, I can't say all the layers because I know there's so much more left to your art and your craft, but layers that we haven't had the opportunity to see, and I want to dive into it. But what has been the reaction on the street about Lorenzo? Are you able to walk down the street?
Yeah. I do believe that that's kind of how you carry yourself is important in the public, and actors' worst pitfall is to ever start believing his or her own celebrity. But people have positive reactions. They're all positive because if they hate you, you're doing your job.
Exactly.
If they somehow form some type of akiness to you, it's all approval. It's all, and I think I'm proud to say that I think what people are noticing is an authentic portrayal of somebody who's just he's just a guy, man. He's just a guy trying to redeem himself, fix his family life. He's a character that evolved from S1 to S3, and at the end of the day, man, the shortest line between two goals is just a straight line, and it's just what motivates him, what is he trying to do, and what would be the greatest legacy and the greatest thing he can do to prepare those coming up behind him. And he didn't exactly choose the safest or most legal ways to earn a living, but that's what the show does, right? Like these portrayals are people who are, for whatever reason, choosing a lifestyle, choosing a way to provide or to get something or to live their best lives, and I think the different colors and the different dimensions of all these people are these layers that you're speaking about, all these things, and this is why the show resonates with so many people, and so people are invested, June. I'll tell you that. The messages and the stuff, the things I hear. I was at IKEA last night, and this girl was like, "Oh, why'd you have to kill Zeke?" And I was like, I didn't. I did, you're right, but there was a sort of circumstance. It's like funny to see how they kind of see that world, they relate to that world, and then they identify with what they're seeing, and so it's a beautiful thing. Super grateful.
Take me to the top, because
Yeah.
I want people to get context from a different perspective. When you got the role of Lorenzo and you read the script, how did you tap into what we fell in love with that became Lorenzo? Was there a certain man in your life? Were there certain friends in your life that allowed you to say, you know what, let me tap into it. Let me take from XYZ, my homeboy from either Puerto Rico or my homeboy
Throgs Neck, Boogie Down Bronx, projects, For me, it was a combination of a couple of things. I went in, I read for a different role, and then as I came out of that audition with Bart and Anthony, they gave me a call and they just said, "Hey, listen, we think maybe we should go in another direction with you," and they offered the role of, at the time, was a guest star role, 5 or 6 episode, co-star, guest star, and the description was he's in jail, which. It was a little apprehensive for me at first, just because I had done kind of like I played that role before,
Right.
in Orange, and then I was back in a jail on the other side as a guard inside of a jail. So as the actor, my own maniacal, whatever you want to call it, like needing to be sure not to get pigeonholed into something, I immediately had that thought. It's like, oh my God, well, what is this? And then when they mentioned head of a family. 3 kids, married to Mary J. Blige's character Monet. That's different, because immediately I just went family man. Thought of my dad. Right. Spoke to Courtney about her vision about it, and one of the things she mentioned is that there was a particular softness or kindness that I saw in you, even though you were so hateable. And the way you speak about your daughters, the way that I've seen other things, boom, tapped into that. Just because all that's how you recall.
Right.
And it was just kind of like a natural thing from that point forward. I was given the freedom to kind of play, right? And see where all these things kind of go from. But the fundamental stuff was there. It was clear. Like, there wasn't much traveling that I had to do except travel in those other shoes, which is when I then tapped into Throgsneck,
Right.
Bronx, Lehman High School, things I've seen, having, my mom came here, married an Italian man, my stepfather Frank, who I met an Italian family. I heard stories. I heard their deals, who they had as heroes, who were their, of course, and me having this idea, all these ideas about, what I wanted to do. They would always talk to me about Robert De Niro and Al Pacino and all these greats, and it's all about it's all those perspectives kind of blending in. You know what I mean? So it was a matter of like, man, just fly, because this is the opportunity of a lifetime right here. This is big, and it started out like that with just 6 episodes or 5 episodes in the first season, and then they elevated. They decided to create a nice little arc for Lorenzo for the rest of the while, so it became a series regular, and here we are. And so that second part of that development after season 1, we knew sort of what could possibly happen to this guy. He's going to come and stir the pot quite a bit. He's going to get out of jail. Your wife is not going to, the wife Monet is not going to kind of concede in any way, shape, or form, at least in an easy way. And you understand the world. I was a Power fan. We watch all the Powers, so we understand that the through life and the arcs of these characters. And so it was important for me to just fill every second that I had with as much authenticity and energy and everything that was necessary to kind of bring this guy to life. He's pivotal. He's pivotal to the story. It's kind of a dream job. It's kind of like, it changed my life. It just changed my life.
That's a beautiful thing.
And relationships and all the great things that happen, and this idea of creating this kind of, to get back to the point of the creating the arc for the role was essential, because as the artist, as the actor, I knew that there would be an end. What and when that end would be, I wasn't sure of.
Right.
But it's always a testament and it's affirming for me to know that, hey, you started out with 5, now they elevated you. And now you don't die at the end of season 2.
Right.
Something else happens at the end of season 2.
More life.
More like, you fucked up. You just killed your wife's son. Right? Like, people think this is all light shit. Like, you don't, this is heavy shit.
This is heavy.
It's heavy shit. And then the actor was like, well, there's time. We got more. You're getting 6. And it comes to an end. I was like, you know what? Bittersweet. I wish it was 10, 20 more. Every actor wants that, right? Everyone wants to live forever. But I'm going to make these last 6 heavy. And I'm going to go out like like just like fire. He's gonna burn really bright. This little star is gonna burn really bright before it goes out. And that was the whole idea of this year. Simple, to the point. I tried not to waste a single moment. Everything was super meaningful. The odds, the obstacles, the shit I gave myself to think about as far as raising the stakes was always very high. And so, here we are.
But that in and of itself, Berto, is amazing because you have actors that like, I gotta be on this ride for 5, 6
Yeah,
years,
we all want
100
that.
episodes.
Yeah, we all want that.
And then you kind of fizzle out, right?
Yeah.
But to make that impact, 3 seasons, to get that call, like,
Yeah.
listen, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're like, well, if we're gonna do it, if
Gorgeous.
we're gonna burn the house down.
Yeah, no,
let's-
we're in service we're in service of the script. We're in service of that story, right? I mean, work begets work. It doesn't matter. Just bust your ass, do your job. You know, be kind to people, respect people, and just bring.
repeat that again, because there's some people who that are sitting all the
We're
way in the
preaching
back,
today. We're
who-
doing a little preaching today.
who got the volume all the way down. They're watching.
Yeah,
Maybe they don't
it's
have.
like you just be in service of the work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, treat people the right way. Work begets work. Do your job and do it to the best of your abilities all the time, and things will pan out. And be honest, and be
kind-
authentic, and
be
be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind.
It costs you nothing, but
It does cost nothing, and you know we're kind of moving away from that idea because I think people spend a lot of time being false with people and hating and being envious of people, and it's so easy to just say, hey, man, we're good, bro. Like
We're good.
I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off in that light. I didn't mean to step in front of you when we went to pump gas, like it happened the other day on 119th and First Avenue at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like
It happens.
You don't come out your face in situations like that. You just say, sorry. You go.
my bad.
My bad, man. My bad.
Or just a simple, I love you, man. Have a great
are
day.
we done? Talk to your site. Yeah, no, it is. It's important, man. Not to, it is important. I live by that. I live by that rule in essence. You know what I mean? I try to. You see me, you get. This is what you get. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about the struggle that Lorenzo embodies. He comes out of jail. He's running things from prison.
Yeah, well, yeah. His perception is that he's in control.
He's
in control.
Total
Yes,
control.
he's in control.
And he comes home, and the game just looks a little different.
Yeah.
The feeling is a little different.
Yeah.
The respect
Yeah,
from his wife, his children,
yeah.
a little different. Talk about that battle, that inner struggle, especially with men of color.
Yeah.
Whether coming out of COVID, could be pre-COVID. It could be 3 years later. There's this mental battle. There's this anxiety that's going on.
Yeah.
How does Lorenzo handle that? But how does Berto Colon handle that as a human being off screen?
Yeah, I mean, so on screen, it was an understanding that first, this is what you set up. So you're not asking for permission to take it back. You're going to take it back. That was the premise. That was the fundamental kind of like what was in him when he came out. Exchanged pleasantries, kind, and this and that and the other. But there was conflict right off the bat, right? There was resistance. Family life wasn't really family life. The children were much bigger now. They all have their own aspirations and ideas. And he just kind of navigated through that. And then I think he asserted as much control as he possibly could, but in a relationship there, Lorenzo and Monet's relationship is a constant power struggle.
Right.
And if, had these two people been friends or rivals on the street, they probably would have offed each other. But then they're family. They have children. They're cruel, mean, vicious people, cold-hearted.
Right.
But it's a different level. We have kids. We have a family. And what's the point of any of this if it's not to provide for them, to have your lifestyle, right? To have your little create your own individual reality for yourself, to be fearless, to be, the man or the woman on the street, to be respected, to be, bowed down at, it's all stuff that we want. That's what we do. That's what we want. But their purpose is always family. That purpose is always family.
That's the foundation.
That's the foundation. And focused on that as much as I could, and then focused then on the idea that, so no longer in jail. Perception was key in jail, because you're not out to exert your control. You have ideas of what you're putting out there, and so that's one of the weaknesses as Lorenzo comes out. It's like he assumes a lot of things are the way he writes them or prescribes them, but now the people who are really in control, because he's not controlling them once they're doing their thing,
Right.
design their own futures, and they're designing their own thing. So then when he contends with that, then you think you got a little power? No, not really, maybe a little bit. Then he evolves. And again, just evolving because now there's a recognition that, like, I'm leaving something for them. This is for them too. I may or may not be around too much longer. I don't know. Redemption certainly seems possible, because that's kind of like what he wanted. He wanted to constantly fix his family. Wasn't quite doable, right? So you just keep striving for it, keep aiming at it. It's a very impossible goal to reach, but you just keep reaching for it.
Right.
And the foundation of all that is, I told Woody just on the way here, and I speak to Lavelle and LaToya a lot about this stuff. Is like I grounded myself with those three. I just kind of grounded a lot of the stuff that I was doing, and I let it go where it goes. But the foundation with them was a lot more of that. It was kind of like my safe place, because Monet certainly wasn't.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. But and that was great to work with her, because she brought so much about, having gotten past the idea who I'm like kind of like having these intimate like emotional fights with. This is a living legend icon. It was fun, man. Like,
That had to be. I mean,
she's it's just, she's very commanding.
wow.
Someone who
Did that help you
Yes.
elevate your game?
Of course. You have to match energies. You have to match that level, and you can't be stepping up. And no, I'm on the stage now. I'm like, I'm not beneath anybody or above anybody. We're equals, and we're just killing it. We're just about to get at each other's throat. Don't worry, it's Mary J. Blige. Don't talk about that. It
Don't
doesn't
talk
matter.
about
It doesn't matter. That kind of.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask, especially after this season, after the last episode that we saw when Lorenzo loses his life.
Yeah.
Throughout the duration of the season, at the end of each season, what do you do to walk away from Lorenzo as Berto? Do you go to a place, or are you able to disconnect immediately? Do you take a day? Do you take a mental health day? What is it that you do that allows you to continue to just be able to be yourself when you go home?
Yeah.
To leave that behind, because let's be honest, there are times when actors, they're so into their character that it's hard to. We've heard about it plenty of times, to the point where they've taken their life.
Yeah, no, it's listen, there's a lot of crazy pitfalls that this industry brings. Notwithstanding that being one of the worst ones, right? Like, you have to be a professional. You dive into this stuff, you're diving into stuff for a reason. It's not a personal reason.
Right.
It's a professional reason, right? You cannot, I think that boundary that's easier said than done. I'm not here to preach to anybody. I'm just expressing how I feel about that type of danger, because it is very real. I would never imagine going home and bringing any other stuff to my younger daughters. They're not, you know what I mean? Part of my temperament, part of the stuff that I tapped into, which is more of, I think, sometimes it's like subliminal, not subliminal, what's the word? Kind of like, almost like an automatic reaction that you get used to. Instinctual reaction. Some of that stuff does linger. You have to be aware of that. You just have to be aware of that. And this year it tested me a little bit, because I was, daughters come up at a certain age, and the same kind of stuff that you fuel your performance with, that kind of like reaction, sometimes, you got to be careful not to bring that stuff at home. It's at the surface. Say you're in the middle of a 9-day shoot, and you got 6-7 days that you're going to work. Like, that's living simmering underneath the surface a little bit.
Yeah, because they do say art imitates life
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. And you just have to be a consummate professional about that, and you know, be fair to people and be effective. You got to be fair to people. Having said that, you know, there was I felt the effects of Lorenzo, you know, because especially like this, there were days where there was stuff that was simmering under him that was only to be used for fuel to live out a certain moment in a certain way. But that sometimes means that you cannot react angrily. So some emotion that you kind of draw or call upon to have a sort of reaction or to feel something about the moment that you're in, that can kind of cause, you know, that can be explosive. You sometimes harness the explosion to just kind of give a more clear and precise. It's not needed. Let's just put it that way. The explosion is not needed. And that stays in there. You don't exercise that. You don't let that out somewhere on the walk out or some other place where you leave after that. That'll stay with you, bro. Like, I mean, I'm a human being. I'm being honest. Dead up.
Yeah.
If that ever, you know, my wife was not shy to ever put me in my place.
You don't have a Monet at home though.
No. I have a different type of Monet. Same kind of strength, same kind of like no bar, no bullshit. Extremely patient woman. And by the way, shout outs to you and to mom. They have the same birthday, so Lara and mommy, feliz cumpleaños. But yeah, my wife she's essential in this process because, you know, she would probably say that there were days, especially in the longer shoot days, that I came kind of, you know, I was just. And I get wrapped up in my stuff too, you know? But you have to be. No way would I bring that to her.
Right.
It's not fair.
But you're somewhat irritable, but you have that side when you do come home that there's that balance.
There's a balance, and you have to be you, man. You can't cross the lines. You know what I mean? Like that's.
And what about
it's a violation.
Space? What about space though? Does she allow you space? Does she allow you grace?
Oh, 100%, man. Most giving person. She's always giving me the space. And in fact, you know, I kind of learned a lot about who I am as a man and the kind of person that I need to be, the patience, the love, the unconditional, the softness, gentility. Like there's a lot of things that I've learned from her, and that's one of them. You know, she's provided me the space, and like I hope I have provided for her, you know. But partners are important. And I know a lot of times in this business, partners are sometimes in the same industry, but when partners are not in the same industry, like, I mean, she's an attorney, she's a lawyer, you know, like, she's artistic in her own way, you know,
Right.
she has, but it's a completely different world.
Two different worlds that can complement each other.
Could complement each other.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the perspective, you know, it's like, you know, you're coming home worried about something that doesn't really matter, or coming home with this nonsense about, actory shit, coming home with your work. Fuck that. Leave it at the door. You're not coming in here like that. Like, it's just.
You're Berto.
Relax.
Leave the Lorenzo business.
Yeah. Are you okay? Like, no.
You need a minute?
You need a minute? You want to go get in the car and go take a drive, go run an errand and come back. Yeah, it's very honest.
Important.
It's very forthright, and I'm grateful. So happy birthday, Mama. Happy birthday to you.
Birthday.
Mommy.
Happy birthday. And I want to talk about these memes that have been going on.
Memes.
Let's talk about it.
Let's hit a few.
You know, Kane try to really have you by the neck.
Yes.
And he had you, rightfully so.
And rightfully so. You know?
Is Kane your daddy?
First son, he's my daddy. I was just talking to him about that because I've had the privilege of obviously interacting with him the most out of the three kids in a very similar way. And I put it this way the other day, and I thought it was effective in the explanation. When a parent sees so much of themselves in their child,
Yes.
you know what those relationships are like.
Yes.
I happen to have one now with my oldest, and she's a female, and I'm obviously a male, and there's a lot of energy there that you can't really manifest with a female daughter who imitates you exactly and is like you. And in the show, that was kind of like the basis that was the groundwork for the relationship with Lorenzo and Kane, where, you know, you're my number one. It's kind of like, you're my number one, but you're too fucking crazy. and I have your daughter, I have your sister and your middle brother, your brother, my middle child to think of, you know?
Right.
And he's coming up in this too, and he is good. He's smart. He's fucking cunning. he's kind of, you're starting to see all the layers of kind of like Drew, you know, coming from this point of view because of his sexuality, because of the
Right.
character, who he is, whatever his performance is. So for me, it's one of my favorites because, again, you're seeing a real evolution in Drew, you know, and there's a complete parallel to Lorenzo in the way that he sees, and that's why he wants Drew to be number one.
Yeah.
It's no other particular reason.
No,
Yeah,
he's
you know.
level-headed. They think the same.
Yes.
Very
yeah,
calculated.
Yeah, and the combination of those two together as brother, as 1 and 2, or you can say 1A, 1B,
Right.
right? That's a powerful combination. You know, they can be assets for each other. And it's not like, you know, Drew has a side too. I know he's a killer, you know? He's just more of a quiet, methodical killer.
Like his dad.
Yes.
Like his dad.
Yes.
Did you enjoy these memes? And what has been enjoyable through this process of seeing that whole power struggle with you and Kane?
Yeah, and
Whether
the
it's on
memes
the
that-
street, people talking
yeah.
about it online.
I saw the other one was SpongeBob the other day. Something about SpongeBob the other day. This is terrible, but this is one of the latest ones. Have you seen it?
I didn't see that.
Okay, am I allowed? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please indulge us.
Lorenzo used to get more pussy from Monet in jail than out here or some shit like that. And SpongeBob is just sitting there going, like it's the face of SpongeBob, like.
Y'all are crazy with those
Yeah,
memes.
it's really, there's no limits. People just fly with whatever they, you know, it's like diarrhea of the mouth. They just,
Right.
just shit goes up. But
What do you think when you see these things?
I
are
think it's, you know what, again, to the point of before of what I was saying, like people get really invested in this stuff. And I guess we're part of the culture. I guess we can say that now. That we're trending, you know, we're part of this culture. And, you know, nowadays that meme is being seen by how many millions of fucking people? And it'll be the running joke for 25 minutes in 3 million different settings across the nation. And it's like, okay, well, somebody's bound to ask, what is that? What does that refer to? It's like, it's insanity.
For the culture.
This is the danger that I talk to my daughters about with their stuff. And we're, you know, at 12 and 13, they've experienced the flip, both sides, you know, the dangers of and the good things that can come from having, you know, all these friends online, because it's scary shit, man.
No, it is. Your foundation is so great, Brother Cologne. It is something that a lot of people strive for. They work hard for it. I want to talk about that power struggle again with you and Kane, the character Lorenzo and Kane.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something that was pivotal this season, just with Kane holding something over his head.
Yeah.
But then we see them in a situation where Lorenzo comes to his aid
Yeah.
through gunfire.
Yeah.
And in the ride, Kane is rethinking all the things that he put you through up to this point, only to ask why.
Yeah.
And you say to him, at the end of the day, you're still my child.
You're still my son.
It's always family first.
Yeah, yeah. You
What
know,
does
it's
that
one
mean?
of what are we supposed to do for them? Was Lorenzo supposed to hold on to rage because of the fact that he actually tried to kill him? Is that what a father does? Is he gonna hold over something, you know, hold the relationship with Mega over his son? That's the difference when you're a parent. That's what you do as a.
But do you realize what you just said there?
Yeah.
There's a power.
That's more powerful than any revenge, than any evil, immediate, like not thought of reaction. Like that's the difference, man.
Men will kill
Men-
because
yeah.
I know that you're sleeping with
And
this
we've
guy.
seen that in other. And there's been, you know, we know what Kanan, we know. I'm not trying to get too goddamn poetic here, but because we know what's possible, and we have to portray both sides of that. But it was so interesting to me to be sure of what I was doing at every moment, and keeping that at the forefront, because I wanted that to be clear. And it is TV. It moves really fast, you know. I had a great conversation with Brett Mahoney about this, because this year there's just so much production, and every year has gotten better. Production value of the show, cinematography is different, angles are different, the focus, like the show looks and feels really different.
Yes.
TV's, nonetheless, TV shows move kind of quickly, and that was one scene where I was like, my God, man, there's got to be some redemption. I was worried as the actor, like maybe that I wasn't gonna live out that moment really fully with Woody like I would have liked to.
Right.
But I think it was effective because it was simple. It's like, yeah, you know, I'm your father. Like, at the end of the day, I'm always gonna put family first, like you said. I'm telling you, man, I was given gems, bro. I was given so much stuff. These writers, you know, they really, I really want to just take a moment to give them all a shout out because they gave me a real opportunity to kind of, with as much artistic freedom and respect that you can have, you know, like they trusted my choices and they trusted me with all this stuff. And it was a beautiful arc, you know, it's just, this power struggle needed to exist. To get back to your question, there needed to be a moment where something needed to be held over his head because that control, we needed to see a little bit of what it would be like for him to render that, to give up that power that he had, you know. And I think those moments are lived out really nicely with Woody. You know, there needed to be a shift, and you kind of build up to that moment. It was like, hey, well, you know, what do you think? I saved your life. It's not a big deal. It's what dads do.
Right. But Woody, and Woody, we got to have you in this.
Yeah, Woody, you got to have
you in
you
the
got to
hot
help
seat,
me out.
bro.
You got to come in here once in a while.
Because he does such a beautiful
Yeah.
job by being so humbling
Yeah.
in that moment
Yeah.
after you give him the answer that he was not expecting.
Yeah, no, that was great. I really had a great time. And, you know, stuff like that speaks to guys like us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those are real, authentic. That's the real deal. And I'm all kudos to him. You know, like I said this to him on the way over here. I'm like, you know, you guys were my base, man. I really appreciate how much you guys all helped me do what I need. You know, help me do what I needed to do because, you know, we dove in. We dove in quite a bit. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that answers your questions, but
No, it fully does.
you know, this whole setup with this power struggle needed to be exactly like it was written, and because TV moves kind of fast, you know, we want to make sure that we grab those little moments. But it was a really good. I felt very comfortable with what the final end result was with that.
And it seeps
Yeah.
through every opportunity you have foundationally.
Yeah.
You set the tone with your daughter,
Yeah.
with your middle
Very
son,
special. Very special.
and there are some lines there and opportunities where you tell
Yeah.
Kane, like, this is the reason why I think this the way I do. This is the
Yeah.
reason why I do the things that I do. And for those who have seen this last episode, you have this conversation with Kane, and he's like, "Why don't you just be honest?" And you're telling him, like, literally, like, "Dog,
Yeah.
be honest to Monet? Are you serious?"
Yeah, that was I love that. Thank you for bringing that up because then that was the other evolution of like, don't do as I say, do as I do. And I feel like Woody in that moment is kind of taking a little bit of an example of the truth that his father has decided to kind of convey
Right.
with him. You know what I mean? Like the truth that he's okay, you know, I have to give up a little bit of this power. You have something over me. Okay, no problem. But I just taught you. I just saved your life. You asked me a question. I was honest with you. I didn't lie to you just now. Maybe you expected me to say something else. Maybe I just told you. That's why I did it.
But there's so much power in
Yeah,
that, Berto. Like,
yeah, there is.
Lorenzo stands on this premise of being forthright, having this foundation of family first, right? And against your better judgment, because you tell him, you share with him, these are the things that I do and the reason why I do it. And you say to him, Monet will not forgive me.
Yeah, that was the other, yeah.
But Berto, here's the thing. Against your better judgment, or against Lorenzo's better judgment,
Yeah.
he still, because he has this love for family and this foundational thing that he can't let go of, he has the balls to go to Monet and say, I made a mistake.
It's sort of like the real essence of asking for an apology. We don't ask apologies because we're expecting the person to forgive us or not forgive us.
But Lorenzo knows the outcome, Berto. He
Once,
knows the
100%.
outcome. Why does he
Because truth will set you free, June. Truth always sets you free. I don't know. It's really boring. It's bullshit. People think it's a lie, but I don't know why. I don't believe anything else.
But he stood on his square.
And I felt that I brought that to this character because, I mean, this is what the writers needed as well. This was the story. He needs to step up and he needs to take ownership. The whole setup of this whole situation with him in these episodes is the build up to that. And what is he going to do?
Accountability.
We tell stories about people who do illegal shit.
Right.
But they're human.
They are human, and I think we forget.
Human.
I think we forget that.
Yeah.
There's
some foundational shit about being human that you cannot deny. You cannot walk your entire life in a lie. You cannot be who you're not. You lie. Truth is. People are gonna think I'm getting a little preachy here, but truth is. Like my father said, man, the word in Spanish that I love is coraje. It's not, I guess, courage. But it's like coraje in Spanish sometimes talks about being mad. It's like, eso me dio coraje, that made me feel anger. But coraje in Spanish sometimes means courage as well. There's two components to that word that kind of go hand in hand. You got strong, ballsy, angry, but at the same time, with courage, man. Sometimes that anger, you simmer it back, you hold it back, because you gotta consider, you gotta consider. You can't beat your fucking wife, man.
Right. She
just angered you, she made you upset. How would you can't react with anger. You gotta react with courage. You let her yell, you do whatever, grab your shit, and just say sorry and go, or just leave. The difference, you get it? Like,
yeah.
You can still have that. There's that animal. That animal is lurking in there, but
there's strength in walking away.
Yes, that's the fucking point. It's more powerful, and you redeem yourself after that. You come back, and because you didn't cross the line, even though you kept kind of like you kept, and that's just one example. You know, I'm not a wife beater, obviously. I'm not. I don't, physicality to me is something very important. It goes back to my football days. It goes back to being, you got to enjoy being physical,
Absolutely.
And there's a part of being physical that, but you got to control that shit, man. You can't just walk around being, breaking shit and just being all courageous, angry without any courage. So.
Yeah, for every action is a reaction.
Yeah. And that was, I think, very, very much a part of Lorenzo, especially in his evolution to those last seasons. To the last season, especially in season 3. There's a lot of. So the other day, somebody said that he looked kind of weak, like it was weakness, and I was like, yeah, that's a good perspective. It is, Weakness is something that people associate with fear, right? And the interpretation of the fact that Lorenzo is now fearful of what? Losing his family.
Right.
Not having his kids respect him anymore, losing his wife. So yeah, you have to soften up, you have to be weaker, and we all know that the characters, especially the female characters, are no short of a great design for being super strong here.
Right.
So let's be equal, per se.
Could that be considered a superpower to have that weakness as a superpower, to say, I want to fall back for the greater good?
Or let's just say, instead of weakness, let's call it control. Let's call the ability to maintain that purpose, but under control, right? Man, we're just associating constantly with that veracity and that physicality stuff, and it is not easily hideable for me to not let you know that that's what I always come to the table with. As an instrument, it's just part of me, physicality. But there's something to be said about the ability to really control that and quiet that shit down once in a while and be clear and concise. And this work requires, if you're gonna move up levels in this business, you gotta have a lot of different shades, a lot of different levels.
And you give us.
Trying to, man. I consider myself a student of the game still, so I'm not ever not learning. I'm always looking.
And
always,
and I appreciate that.
I wanted to get into the relationship with Diana because it was important to bring that up.
Absolutely.
I didn't want to miss that because she was also like she's part of the trinity of like the fundamental part of Lorenzo, and I can't speak enough about the levels on a personal level.
Right, because I want to talk about that dynamic.
On a personal level, because being a father to girls, and it's also something Courtney mentioned in the beginning, it was the idea that there's something about you and being a father to girls that I love, just as a contradiction to who Lorenzo, the audience think Lorenzo should be.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, diving into our work was so personal. Was so, like I think the first time was season 1 when she comes to visit him.
Right.
That
Very
was
pivotal moment.
pivotal. And it was pivotal in many ways. Personally, LaToya and I had not worked yet. One of the importance that I get back to being fucking ready, because she was ready, right? And backstory is, you haven't seen her in 10, 15 years. Right? What else you need? I don't need anything else. Go.
Wow.
That, I gotta say, I had a lot of like cheat sheets on that one. I had the what they call the cliff notes.
The cliff notes that.
Personal cliff notes for that one. That was not a lot of research.
How so?
Well, I mean,
let's
listen,
talk about
I
it.
could just think about my daughter is 14 or 15 or 13 at the time, like instantly. I can't even bring it up now. What? Not seeing my daughter for 15 years? Either one of them?
This would be a crazy feeling.
You don't have to say anything else with that. It just goes. See? It just goes.
You know what it is.
Yeah.
That is.
You don't have to do anything. And that's how hard it hit with her. Right off the bat. As soon as we were done with that, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for more. And it was all like all these beautiful little things. And I said the same thing to her. And that was season 1, so we didn't know where this was going.
Go right.
Right? And I was like, by all means, from your lips to God's ears, let's see what happens. But that was so easy. She's so great.
But that was so dope. But let's fast forward.
Yeah.
She's now, you want her to live her dreams.
Yeah.
You want her to be better than you ever have.
Yeah.
And Poppy, what happened to your dreams? What did you want to do?
That was a nice moment, by the way. Thank you for bringing that up. That was a real nice moment. And another little note there that I borrowed from real life, like the athlete in me, suffering an injury in high school, blew out my knee on my senior year. I had this world lined up for myself as a junior. I was like an all-city kid. I was all Burr. I went up to varsity sophomore year. I think I might have told you the story. I don't want to bore the audience with it, but I blew my knee out senior year, second day of camp, bro. Rocking. We were running a 4-4 defense in high school. Does anybody understand what that means?
No, they don't.
How you run a 4-4 defense in PSAL?
At that level?
Number 1, like PSAL League 1, like A. Kennedy, Brooklyn, Sheepshead Bay, Lincoln. Like we had.
So you played and these are.
We were in the top league in the city of New York, which is no fucking joke. And we were running a 4-4 defense pre-camp. Nobody was going to run on us, and nobody was going to pass on us either. We had 3 kids that all ended up in D1. Anyway, lost that dream. Daddy, why did you think I always wanted to be a drug dealer? Baseball. That was my game. That's a moment of truth. A personal.
And that moment was dope.
Yeah, she's great because he just basically decides at that point, no, I'm sorry for getting you wrapped up into this shit.
Right.
Out of desperation. There was desperation when Lorenzo dealt with Kane. But that was kind of colored with fear,
right,
anger.
And he gets lower by getting her into the game.
Yeah, and he went, that was terrible. I felt like, oh my God, he's acting out of desperation. He's acting out of character. He's letting desperation set in. How could you get your daughter wrapped up? Well, in a way, this is kind of saving
the family.
Saving the family a little bit. But yes, it's a terrible choice. That should not be done. This is the one that's going to get out of the game. How could you do it? I'm going to cross the line for a little while, just for a little while. He had to cross the line, and he did. And then that moment was, like, man, the fucking writers are on the money. It's like, great. Because he never wanted to do that. Lorenzo did not want, that's not for her. That was not for her.
That wasn't in his plans.
Was not ever in his plan. Even when he was behind you know, even when he was in jail, that was not for her. And the fact that there was a little moment to kind of redeem that and come back and confess, like, hey, I made a mistake. I want you out. That was really nice. I really enjoyed that part.
This journey has been an amazing one for you with this series.
Yeah.
50 is one of the masterminds behind that. If you
Thank
could
you,
tell him something right now,
You know,
what would it be?
Yeah, so I'll tell him exactly what I told him in Prague. Where I had the privilege of, I was out in Serbia in October, and I had the privilege of, Gianni and I had the privilege. Gianni was already in Prague, but you know, he kind of opened the doors of his Airbnb and let me stay with him one night. So shout out to Gianni. But 50 invited us to the concert, and we watched the second night in Prague with him. And I'll say to you what I said to him then, which was, man, you know, it's been a privilege and an honor to kind of be entrusted with this, and I hope that we can collaborate some way soon, man. And you know, from day one, I've always, through Yves and mostly through Yves' relationship, Yves Rivera, longtime collaborator, friend, partner of 50. You know, I think it was episode 6 in season 1, and he directed that episode, Yves. And I mean, it's like a week later, we were chopping it up, drinking and getting together to, you know, breaking bread together. And he told me that, you know, 50 appreciated the dailies. I was like, word?
And for those who don't know what the dailies are,
Yeah, so the daily shots, and he loves what you're doing, bro. He, you know, so, you know, it's just one of those things, man. I have an incredible respect for the man, and I think that he's an example of what you can do with your life, coming back from unsurmountable odds, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
literally
and figuratively.
and figuratively, coming back from, and you know, everybody knows the story, but there's a fearlessness and a level of understanding. It's almost like you were on the other side and you've been given this virtue to kind of see things from a higher level, you know, just from a higher place of conceptualization and ideas, and not just the immediate but the future. There's just like a constant there's a constant churning of fucking ideas happening, even when you think that like they
Right.
don't sleep.
Right.
These people, they don't sleep.
How can you?
There's so much.
There's a pursuit of something else, something higher.
Yeah, man, it's really, it's a compliment, and I hope to match that, and I hope to match that energy, and that's the kind of respect you want. People, like I said it in this podcast, which also helped me a lot, by the way. So thank you for the first one. I thank you for the second one.
I appreciate you.
But it's something I said then, and it's something I'll say again. It's like, you know, when you have the respect of people like that, it's a lot of affirmation, man. That's what you want, you know.
You have given props, love to your wife,
Yeah,
50,
yeah.
Eve. A lot of people don't understand it takes a lot of people,
A lot of moving
things.
pieces, yeah.
Who are some other people? I want to give you the opportunity
Oh,
to.
I appreciate it, man. So I don't want to do the corny thing, but there are just some corny things, but there are just some people that I have to give a shout out to that I don't need to read. But, you know, obviously Courtney and 50 and Mark Canton and Dorothy. But producers of the second season like Bart Wentridge and Shayna Stein, you know, the new showrunner Brett Mahoney, who has been, you know,
Shout out to Brett.
shout out to Brett, because, you know, coming from season 2, we had the conversation and we sort of mapped out what he gave me the roadmap of what this year would be, as per Courtney and as per the creatives, and the writers of course follow along. But, you know, a shout out to the cast, very important for me. Of course, you know, Woody Lavelle and LaToya and Mary, but Method, who it's great to say that I'm kind of friends with Method Man.
My man, Meth. What up, Meth? To
I
Cal.
went to see him at concert, and I brought
high energy.
9 of my friends.
High energy.
I have become a legend amongst 9 other friends, you know, like so it's people like that, and Peyton and Monique and Luna Velez, who I've been a fan on for forever.
How can you not be?
How could, you know, Shane.
New York Undercover, you kidding
Shane
me?
Johnson and
shout out to Shane.
Shout out
too.
to
Come on.
Shane and Paige and, you know, Michael Rainey Jr. That you know, and Gianni, but, you know, obviously Michael, you know, this what a great position to be young like him,
Yeah.
right? It's like, you know, he's got this
I
show.
love that guy. I love Mike.
Michael. And you know,
love you too, Gianna. We can't
Yeah,
leave anyone.
you can't leave.
Paige, you know I love you too. Alex, you know we
love
you
you
too.
both independently.
All of you.
Independently.
Yes.
But you know, the writers, important people that really make a difference for me is the people on camera, behind the camera, the directors, Rob Hardy, you know, Ruben, Eve, as I mentioned before, Hernan, you know, Shayna a couple of times, Bart a couple of times. Anthony Hemingway was in the room my first time coming in to read for the show with Bart Renrich. And I think, I don't know who said what where, but obviously he had some power into suggesting to read for that role of Lorenzo. So shout outs to him. And you know, I just, this just changed in so many ways, my life in so many ways, and I'm looking forward to more, man. You know, there's so much more. Lorenz Tate, by the way, another legend.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Lorenzo,
Inkwell.
he knows what it is. Come on.
Inkwell, Menace.
Come on.
Come on, man. It's been a dream. I'm living my dream. And, you know, not a lot of people get to do what they love as a method of making a life for themselves, and I do. I get to make a living doing what I love, and I'm blessed for that. Really, really blessed for that, man.
You are an amazing soul.
Thank you, brother.
You are a great man,
Thank
great
you.
father, great husband.
Likewise, sentiment is mutual.
Great
brother.
friend.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
And I wish you nothing but the best. Before I let you go,
Yeah.
you have given us a legendary character. What is it that you want people to walk away from your time as being Lorenzo on Power Book 2 Ghost?
You know, I think I've already been given the greatest gift regarding that, and regarding our audience, and regarding the effect that this role has had on people. And I think that the investments that people have made in the show came out of a really a labor of love. You know what I mean? It was really just an honesty and to pay tribute to who we represent on the stage. And I know that sometimes you're speaking to them directly with some of the stuff that you do.
Right.
You know? So just know that it came from a place that I don't take I don't take things like that for granted. You know, I don't take the effect that these things have on people for granted, and I use that in a very, very sincere and honest way to kind of go about what I do. So I'm honored that I'm being asked to tell you how I feel about that, because nobody gets an opportunity to really say those things a lot of times.
A lot of times.
A lot of people hear actors say actory shit and whatnot, but it really is a place of love. It really is. You know, you're always grateful, and that's what this performance was. It was a performance. It was a good performance. Bittersweet to kind of walk away from it, you know, but it was a performance that was born out of love, man. It was born out of a great opportunity. So, thank you. That's
Berto.
it.
Thank you, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazingly talented Berto Colon. You will remember him as Lorenzo Tejada for the culture.
Thank you for the
This
culture.
is the Winner Circle. Your host, June Archer. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you. Thank you.